Well, thanks for joining us again today. We're going to finish Psalm 5 on today's episode. I can't wait to talk about the importance of praying for God's direction and leadership in your life. Maybe you're in a murky time. Today would be a great day to consider what God says about leading your life on a straight path.
Welcome to Everyday Truth with Kurt Skelly. We believe the Bible is true and relevant to everyone, everywhere, every day. If today's conversation is a help to you, take a moment to leave a review or share it with a friend. Thanks for listening. Now, let's join Kurt for today's episode.
Hey friends, welcome back to our study of the book of Psalms. We're in Psalm 5, as most of you already know. And we're actually in the second half of this great psalm, talking about praying. And David was so intentional about spending time with God. Intentional in his practice, but also intentional in just his, for lack of a better word, his scheduling. I will call unto you in the morning. How did he say that? My voice shalt thou hear in the morning. God, I'm going to be there. You're going to hear me pray. You're going to hear this voice in the morning. So listen to me, please, Lord. Consider what I'm thinking about. Consider my thoughts. You're my King. You're my God. You're my Lord. So David had this humble and sweet spirit and this faithful prayer life to the Lord. Why? Because he was too busy and too fraught was his life with negativity that he needed God. And he was not going to allow that important discipline in his life to get nudged out by other lesser priorities. Look at verse number 7 of our text. He says, "But as for me, I will come into thy house in the multitude of thy mercy, and in thy fear will I worship toward thy holy temple." Interesting that David has now for 3 verses 4 through 6, we ended here last episode, talked about the relationship of the wicked with God. God can't bless them. God can't bless that kind of lying, that kind of deceitfulness, that working of iniquity, that foolishness. We've talked about all of this. And the implication is that David is in the minority here. So this may have been written early on when he was running from Saul, or this may have been written years later, like Psalm 3, when he was running from Absalom. But in whatever season David was, it appears that wrong was in the majority. It appears that those that are not serious about God and following God are in the majority. Does that sound familiar, by the way? And wouldn't you love to make choices for other people? Sometimes you wish you could go to the ballot box and have 100 votes, not just one vote. But you're just one person. So what do you do in frustrating times like that? All you can do is make your own personal choice. All you can do, and the best thing you can do for any institution in which you find yourself a part, whether it be a nation or the church or your family or your marriage, the best thing you can do for the other people in the institution is for you yourself to be right with God. So David says in verse number 7, "But as for me, I will. And watch the subject of his intentionality in verse number 7. "I will come into thy house in the multitude of thy mercy. In thy fear will I worship toward thy holy temple." So David has already told us, my voice you will hear in the morning, and I will come before you with humility. I will come before you, not because I deserve, not because I am somehow inherently better than the people that I've just talked about in verses 4 through 6, but I understand the scope of your mercy. I understand that the only way by which a sinful man can approach a holy God is through the mercy extended to him by that holy God. And of course, we know that mercy was extended most poignantly through Jesus himself. So I will pray, I will approach, I will worship, I will be faithful, and this will be a part of God's mercy in my life. I will maintain a healthy and respectful attitude toward God. In thy fear, I will come. Verse number 8, lead me, O Lord, in thy righteousness, because of mine enemies. Make thy way straight before my face. Is it not interesting that in all of the hubbub, and all of the persecution. So again, we could talk about Saul's incessant pursuit of David. We could talk about Absalom's rebellion. But in both cases, these aren't things you plan. These are things that upend your plans. These are things that put you out on the run, that cause you to have a schedule that you weren't intending to have, to go places you weren't intending to go. And trouble can confuse us. The unexpected and uninvited negativities of our life can cause us to get ourselves in a mess. It's when we most desperately need God's guidance. So a good thing to pray, a good thing to pray, there we go. A good thing to pray in those moments in your life is for God's guidance. Pray for God's leadership. I think that's why James 1:5 is situated in the Bible just right where it is. Because in the middle of the trial, I need God's wisdom. Well, I need clarity about where to go, what to do, what not to do, how not to get sidetracked. And so David here says, Lord, lead me. And I like the terminology, make my path straight, make it obvious where I need to go. Because it's so easy when we're dealing with unrighteousness, when we're dealing with lying and the kind of persecution that David was dealing with. It's so easy to begin to get focused on that and respond. And their unrighteousness can cause an unrighteous response at us. And their unrighteousness can get us off track and off the path. So more than ever during these seasons of life where you feel like you're being marginalized, you need to pray for leadership. You might want to do that right now. I mean, you might want to stop this recording right now and just say, Lord, lead me. Help me to acknowledge you in all my ways. Lord, make my path straight. Make it very clear what you want me to do. Let your righteousness guide me. A lot of times we allow the potential of benefit to ourselves. Well, this would be better for me. This is a better situation for me. No, don't make your decisions based upon what you perceive to be better for you. Make your decisions based upon, Lord, is this right? Is this going to bring glory to you? Lord, give me direction, give me wisdom, make my path straight. This is the prayer of David, and what a prayer it is. Verse number 9, for there is no faithfulness in their mouth. He's back talking about the enemy. Their inward part is very wickedness. So interesting how David says, you can't trust what they say. Why? Because it's coming from a bad source. Out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaketh, and by their fruit ye shall know them. And James chapter 3, right? It comes out of a bad source. Can the fig tree, my brethren, bear olive berries? Okay, can the vine bear either the vine figs? So can no fountain both yield salt water and fresh. So he's talking about the source of our words. And the source of our words is our heart. If you have bitter envying and strife in your hearts, James goes on to say in James chapter 3. So that's what David is driving at here. Verse number 9 again, for there is no faithfulness in their mouth. Their inward part is very wickedness. Their throat is an open sepulcher. They flatter with their tongue. So flattery. Flattery is when people use words as leverage, as manipulation tools, sometimes as a weapon, and weaponize their words. And flattery is when people say things to you that are nice about you, or that you would love to be true about you, but they're saying it not because they believe it, but because they're trying to extract some benefit from you. I like this statement. Gossip is what people say behind your back that they would never say to your face. But flattery is what people say to your face, but they'd never say it behind your back. Now, they're both wrong because they come out of a duplicitous heart. Verse number 10, real quickly here. Destroy thou them, O God. Put an end to it. Let them fall by their own counsels. Cast them out in the multitude of their transgressions, for they have rebelled against thee. You see how David frames this? Lord, take care of this. Deal with this. And the primary way David understands that God deals with people that lie, that cheat, that have evil intentions is by allowing their own words and their own strategies to come back upon them. They are ensnared by the web of their own lies. They've dug that ditch and they fall into the ditch that they've dug. But the second aspect, I think, that David reminds himself of as he prays to the Lord about these enemies is he says, they have rebelled against thee. It's easy when we're hurting, and it's easy when people have maybe been unfair to us to take it personally. It's almost impossible not to. And when we do that and we respond that way and we get off track and we get off that plain path, then we're forgetting a really important thing. And that is, it's really not my reputation that's at stake. It's the Lord. And it's not really them rebelling against me that matters. It's their relationship with God. And so David says, Lord, they have rebelled against thee. Lord, this is not my battle. That might be a good thing for you to say to God today. This is not my battle. This is your battle. Would you see the last two verses of our text, verse number 11? But let all those that put their trust in thee rejoice. And these are rebelling against you. They're ultimately going to dig their own pit. But Lord, those that aren't, the minority of people that are trusting you, watch this. Those that put their trust in thee, let them rejoice. Let them ever shout for joy, because thou defendest them. Let them also that love thy name be joyful in thee. So what is David saying? David's saying, you can have joy even before you see the physical resolution of your problems. Why? Because God is real. So be joyful if you're putting your trust in him. Be joyful if you have a clear conscience in him. And then be joyful, verse number 11, because you are standing on the right team. You're standing for the right cause. Here's how he says it. Let them also that love thy name be joyful in thee. So what do we love? Well, the name of God means his reputation. You know, if what we're saying is what matters here is the reputation of God, the righteousness of God, the character of God, the goodness of God. And people can say what they want about me, but I'm going to stand for the righteous character of God. There's a joy that comes in just doing right. There's the joy of conscience that comes in just resting in the fact that I am on Team God. Okay, look at verse number 12. For thou, Lord, wilt bless the righteous. Do you believe that today? Do you believe that the blessed life is the life of obedience, the life of faithfulness to God? In the moment when it doesn't seem like it's going to bring any dividend, do you really believe that? Well, David did. Thou wilt bless the righteous. With favor wilt thou compass him as with a shield. Now God will show his favor, the light of his countenance, we've heard that before, on those that trust him. Your faith is what's on trial. Trust God. You'll never be disappointed.